I want you to just take a second and imagine a chain, like one single unbroken chain of life.
Right, and we're talking about a chain stretching back nearly 4 billion years.
Exactly. 4 billion years. And if you think about it, it is just mind-blowing because if any single one of your ancestors, from some ancient single-celled organism to a weird fish, right up to an early primate,
If even one of them had failed to survive and reproduce, you just wouldn't be here.
you wouldn't exist today at all.
Right.
And that wild biological reality is exactly what we are tearing into for today's deep dive.
It really is a fascinating perspective shift.
It totally is. So we've got a huge stack of sources today mapping out this concept of evolution in action, along with the whole lineage of humanity. And our mission here is basically to shatter the illusion that evolution is just, ancient history.
Yeah, we have this tendency to think of it as something locked away in dusty museum cases alongside dinosaur bones.
Right, like it's done.
Yeah.
But it's not. It is happening inside you and all around you right this very second.
We definitely fall into that trap of thinking we've crossed some imaginary finish line, like we are the final product.
But we aren't, are we?
Not at all. The sources we're analyzing make one thing brutally clear right out of the gate. Evolution has absolutely no finish line.
None.
It has no end goal. And crucially, it has zero foresight. I mean, it is just a blind, relentless algorithm.
Okay, so to really understand where that algorithm is going, we first have to understand the web it has already spun, right? Like how deeply you, the listener, are connected to it.
Oh, deeply connected. Your own body is basically a living evolutionary timeline.
Yeah, so, okay, let's unpack this because the taxonomic lineage the sources walk us through is wild. We go from eukaryotes, which are basically just cells with nuclei, to vertebrates, tetrapods, amniotes, mammals, primates, great apes, hominins, and then finally us, Homo sapiens.
It's a very long, very chaotic family tree.
The most chaotic family reunion ever. Because the sources throw out these DNA statistics that are just, well, they're staggering. Like, we know you share 99.9% of your DNA with other humans, right?
Right, which makes sense.
But then you zoom out. You share roughly 98 to 99% with chimpanzees.
Which really highlights how little the underlying code actually changes.
Exactly. And it gets weirder. You share 85% of your DNA with a mouse.
The mice in the walls get an invite to the reunion?
They do. And my favorite one, you share roughly 60% of your DNA with a banana?
Which is just incredible to think about.
A literal banana. I mean, how does that even make sense?
Well, what's fascinating here is that it all comes back to the blueprint. The machinery of life at a cellular level is universally shared.
Right.
But even just looking at your physical body, you can see the ancient remnants you're carrying around right now.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, you have a backbone, right? You inherited that from ancient marine vertebrates hundreds of millions of years ago.
Wow.
You have 5 fingers. That exact skeletal architecture, the pentadactylum, comes from early tetrapods that literally dragged themselves out of the mud.
So my hand is basically a modified fish fin.
It essentially is, yeah. 1 bone, 2 bones, a cluster of wrist bones, and digits. You share that exact engineering with bats, whales, and birds.
Because we all just inherited it from the same desperate survivor.
Exactly. Add in the hair from early mammals and the opposable thumbs from primates, and you are literally just a collection of ancient, successful parts.
Okay, but if we are just a collection of these ancient parts, why do we look so completely different from our ancestors?
Because the environment changes, and evolution is constantly blindly reacting to whatever the current environment is.
Right. It doesn't plan ahead.
No, it doesn't optimize for making a quote-unquote better organism. It simply favors whatever inherited traits increase reproductive success under the current conditions.
So yesterday's massive survival advantage could become today's lethal disadvantage.
Precisely. The environment dictates the rules.
Wait, I have to stop you there, though. Because you said reproductive success, so survival isn't even the main goal.
No, actually. And this is a huge paradigm shift. The most important unit in evolution isn't the individual organism at all.
It's not.
No, it's the gene. The individual, you, me, the mouse, the fish, we only matter to evolution because we are vehicles that carry genes to the next generation.
Oh, wow. So we are entirely disposable.
Completely disposable. Once you successfully pass your genes on, your biological job is pretty much done.
That is so cold.
Yeah.
But I guess it explains the extinction rate in the sources, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The sources point out a sobering reality. Extinction is actually the norm.
Yeah, something like over 99% of all species that have ever lived are extinct now.
More than 99%. You and I and everything alive today, we belong to a tiny, microscopic, surviving fraction.
We are just the statistical anomalies that got incredibly lucky.
Exactly. Millions of times in a row.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting for me.
Mm-hmm.
If everything is just about genes fighting to survive, how do we get new species? Because no animal ever gives birth to a completely different species, right? A dog doesn't give birth to a cat.
Right. It's never a sudden jump. The engine of all that massive diversity is actually geography.
Geography, like mountains and rivers.
Exactly. Speciation requires isolation. You have to stop what biologists call gene flow between populations.
Okay, I think I need an analogy here.
Okay, imagine a game of telephone.
Like the kids' game, where you whisper a message in a circle.
Yeah, exactly. You start with one large population of, say, beetles. They are all sharing the same genetic message because they are constantly interbreeding.
They can all hear each other.
Right. But then a massive geological event happens. Say a river cuts a deep canyon right through their habitat, splitting the population completely in half.
So the circle is broken.
Yes, gene flow is severed.
Okay.
Group A is now trapped in a dense, humid forest. Group B is on a dry, rocky plateau.
Okay, so they're playing two separate games of telephone now.
Exactly. And the original message begins to change in completely different directions. In the forest, mutations for green camouflage are incredibly successful.
Because they don't get eaten by birds.
Right. But on the rocky plateau, those green beetles stand out and get eaten immediately. Over there, mutations for a harder shell and water retention are favored.
So over thousands and thousands of generations, these tiny changes just pile up.
Until eventually they evolve on such different paths that even if the river dried up and they met again, they could no longer interbreed.
The message is totally lost in translation. They are officially two distant species.
Exactly. But speciation like that takes a very, very long time.
Right, which is why it feels like evolution is this slow, ancient thing. Since that requires cutting off gene flow, what happens when you look at things that reproduce super fast versus things that don't?
Well, the speed of evolution is entirely relative. If you look at human generations, 20 to 30 years, it feels invisible.
Yeah, we don't see ourselves changing.
But the sources highlight the staggering contrast when you look at viruses. A virus can replicate millions of times in a matter of weeks or months.
Oh, right, because their mutation rate is just astronomical.
Yes. The sources actually point to COVID-19 variants as a literal textbook example of real-time evolution.
We all watched it happen. The virus adapted to immune responses and vaccines in basically real time.
Exactly. We watched the blind algorithm at work over just a few months.
Okay, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, just because human evolution is slower, that doesn't mean it has stopped.
Not at all. It just means our gene flow hasn't been cut off. All humans alive today are still one species, Homo sapiens, because we continuously exchange genes.
It's like a giant pot of soup. As long as you keep stirring it, it all stays one flavor. But if you pour some out, leave it in the backyard and never touch it again.
It becomes something completely different.
Exactly. So what does this all actually mean for us? Are humans actively evolving right now?
Oh, absolutely. We are actively evolving right now.
Oh, wait, really? Give me an example.
The sources outline a few major ones. The most famous is probably lactose tolerance.
The ability to drink milk, but isn't that just a dietary thing?
No, it's a direct genetic mutation. For most of human history, the gene that lets you digest milk basically turned off after childhood. There was no biological reason to drink milk as an adult.
Right, that makes sense.
But a few thousand years ago, humans started domesticating cattle.
We invented agriculture.
Exactly. And during famines, cow's milk became a vital source of clean water and calories. But if you couldn't digest it, drinking it gave you severe diarrhea.
Which, during a famine, means you die of dehydration.
Brutal, but true. So when a random genetic mutation popped up that kept that lactase enzyme turned on into adulthood, it was a massive survival advantage.
Wow, so the people with the mutation lived and passed it on. We literally changed our own environment with farming, and that forced our DNA to adapt.
We did. Another incredible example from the sources is high altitude adaptation.
Oh, like populations living in the mountains.
Yeah, specifically the Tibetan Plateau. It's incredibly high up, oxygen levels are super low. If a typical person goes up there, their body panics and overproduces red blood cells to try and get more oxygen.
Which sounds helpful.
It is in the short term, but long term it makes your blood dangerously thick. It leads to serious health issues. But the Tibetan population has a specific mutation in a gene called EPAS1.
Okay, what does that gene do?
It basically stops the body from overproducing those cells, keeping the blood thin while still processing oxygen efficiently.
That is wild.
And the craziest part, the sources note that genetic sequencing suggests modern humans actually got this specific adaptation by interbreeding with a completely different extinct human species called the Denisovans.
Wait, so a ghost species just passed us the genetic code we needed to survive up there?
Exactly. Evolution leverages the past to survive the present.
That is unbelievable. And there's one more example the sources focus on, right? Disease resistance.
Oh, yes. Pathogens have always been the most relentless evolutionary filter. Plagues, malaria, viruses.
Because they just wipe out huge chunks of the population.
Right. And the ones who survive often have tiny genetic quirks that make their immune systems just slightly better at fighting off that specific pathogen.
So our immune systems today are basically built on the graves of the plagues our ancestors survived.
Precisely. And it's an ongoing arms race, which totally destroys the myth of the final product. Humans in a million years will almost certainly not be genetically identical to us today.
Because the environment is always changing. We are always adapting.
As long as there is variation and environmental pressure, the algorithm keeps running.
Man, it just completely shifts how you see yourself in the world. I mean, we started this deep dive looking at fish dragging themselves out of the ocean, and we followed that unbroken chain right up to you, the listener, today.
It's a profound realization. You are sitting at the very tip of this vast, chaotic biological tree.
And it really is a poetic irony, isn't it? Out of billions of years of this blind, relentless mutation, the algorithm somehow stumbled into building a brain capable of complex thought.
Yeah, we are the first known species produced by evolution that is actually capable of turning around and studying the process that created us.
We are literally the universe waking up and observing itself.
We are, but, the sources also leave us with a pretty hard reality check.
What's that?
Evolution doesn't care about human values. It has no concept of morality or justice or meaning or happiness.
Right, because it only optimizes for reproductive success.
Exactly. If a trait causes you agonizing pain, but ensures you live just long enough to pass on your genes, evolution heavily favors that trait. It is a cold, mathematical process.
It really doesn't care about our feelings. It just cares if our code makes it to the next round.
Precisely. We have to be the ones to supply the meaning and the morality.
Wow. Okay, so understanding all of that machinery leads to one final, deeply unsettling question. And I really want you, the listener, to mull this over on your own after we wrap up here.
It's a big one.
It is. Because we know evolution blindly favors traits adapted only to current conditions, right? And we know that right now, humans are altering our own environment faster than any species in history. I mean, think about it. We stare at screens all day, we live in artificial light, we eat hyper-processed food, we have modern medicine. We've totally rewritten the rules of the ecosystem.
We've basically built an alien landscape for our genes to try and navigate.
Exactly. So the question is, since the evolutionary L filter never actually stops, what hidden, totally unexpected traits is evolution secretly selecting for within us right this second?
What traits are quietly giving people a biological edge in a tech-driven world?
Right, because whatever those weird hidden traits are, those are the exact traits that will completely define the humans of a million years from now.
Assuming, of course, that we don't wipe ourselves out first.
Yeah, assuming we keep the chain unbroken. Just keep that in mind the next time you look in the mirror. You're definitely not the end of the story. You were just the latest mutation.